6 hidden signs you carry a rare spiritual aura. Carl Jung's deepest psychology. Have you ever met someone who doesn't need to say a single word yet? Their very presence changes the entire room. Carl Jung revealed the hidden psychology behind this rare aura, and once you understand it, you'll never see people the same way again. Part 1. The nature of spiritual awakening and the rare aura. Spiritual awakening, when viewed through the lens of Jungian depth psychology, is not a fleeting emotional high or a simple intellectual realization. It is a radical restructuring of the psyche, a confrontation with the unconscious, and a reorientation of the individual toward what Carl Jung called the self. The self in Jung's framework is not the ego nor the collection of roles one plays in society, but the totality of the personality that transcends time, culture, and personal history. When a person experiences awakening, they begin to perceive life not merely through the narrow lens of ego, desires, fears, and conditioning, but through a wider lens of symbolic meaning and archetypal resonance. This shift is profound, and it creates a presence, an aura that others instinctively sense. The idea of a rare aura is more than metaphorical. Jung often used symbolic language to capture psychological truths that cannot be explained solely by rational analysis. Aura here signifies the radiance that emanates from someone who has gone through the inner fire of transformation. It is not about physical beauty, charisma, or extroversion. It is about the silent energy field that forms when the conscious and unconscious begin to work in harmony. Such a person exudes a quiet strength, a deep calm, or a penetrating intensity that makes others notice them without knowing why. Jung's clinical experience suggested that when a person integrates shadow material, confronts their complexes, and aligns with the archetypal dimension of the psyche, they emit a different kind of psychic energy. This is what makes their presence feel rare and even sacred. Awakening begins with a rupture. People rarely enter this state through comfort. More often, it emerges from crisis, loss, or existential despair. Jung himself endured his confrontation with the unconscious after his break with Freud. During this period, he wrote the Red Book, a private document where he recorded visions, dialogues with inner figures, and symbolic encounters that terrified and enlightened him. He described this as a descent into the underworld of the psyche, where rational thought dissolved and archetypal images erupted with overwhelming force. For Jung, such encounters with the unconscious were not hallucinations, but necessary revelations of the deeper structures of the human mind. They marked the beginning of his own awakening, and he understood that anyone who passes through similar depths would emerge changed. This change is what gives rise to the aura. When someone has faced their inner chaos, survived it, and come to terms with it, they no longer move through life with the same fear or superficiality. They are not easily manipulated by social pressures because they have seen something larger than social convention. They are not seduced by shallow pleasures because they have touched something more profound than material success. Jung would say they have begun the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming who one truly is, integrating all aspects of the psyche into a coherent whole. The aura that results is the external manifestation of that inner integration. It is rare because very few people are willing to confront themselves so deeply. Most prefer to live in the persona, the mask presented to society, avoiding the shadow and repressing the unconscious. Only those who dare to walk into the fire of the unconscious find themselves radiating this unmistakable presence. Psychologically, the aura of an awakened individual is a product of psychic wholeness. Jung observed that the psyche has its own energetic economy. When the ego represses parts of the personality, anger, grief, fear, sexuality, those energies do not disappear. They sink into the unconscious and form complexes. These complexes disrupt life, leading to neurosis, projection, or compulsive behavior. But when a person confronts and integrates these disowned aspects, the psychic energy that was once trapped is released and reintegrated into the whole. The result is an increase in vitality and clarity. Others experience this liberated energy not through rational explanation but as presence. One feels it in the way an awakened individual enters a room, the way they listen, the way their gaze penetrates without aggression, the way silence around them feels charged rather than empty. Consider how Jung described the saintly figures of history, or the wise elders in myth. Their power lies not in domination but in resonance. They radiate because they are transparent to the deeper forces of life. Their words carry weight not because of rhetoric but because they come from an inner alignment with archetypal truths. In the same way, modern spiritually awakened individuals, whether they are therapists, teachers, artists, or simply ordinary people who have done the inner work, carry an aura that cannot be faked. It is the aura of authenticity. Jung often warned against spiritual inflation, where people adopt mystical language or practices to cover up their insecurity. That is not the rare aura. The rare aura arises only from genuine transformation. It is costly. It requires sacrifice of illusions, death of ego identifications, and a willingness to suffer consciously rather than escape. Only when the ego surrenders to the self does this new radiance emerge. Another dimension of this aura is its paradoxical effect on others. Jung noted that individuals who embody unconscious material can constellate strong reactions in those around them. For example, someone who has integrated their shadow may unconsciously draw out the repressed shadows of others. This is why awakened individuals often polarize people. Some are drawn to them with deep admiration, while others feel inexplicably threatened. The aura does not merely soothe, it also exposes. It reflects back to others what they are hiding from themselves. This reflective quality makes the aura both healing and disruptive. Healing because it awakens dormant parts of others. Disruptive because it destabilizes the defenses of those who cling to their masks. Jung would say that this is the natural effect of archetypal energy moving through a person it awakens. Archetypal responses in others, sometimes joy, sometimes fear. To understand this psychologically, think of projection. Jung argued that much of what we perceive in others is actually a projection of our own unconscious. When someone carries an awakened aura, they become a screen for projections people see in them, what they have not integrated within themselves. Some project the archetype of the wise guide or healer, others the threatening sorcerer or manipulator. The awakened individual often becomes a magnet for these projections, whether positive or negative. The aura is not neutral. It stirs the unconscious of those around. This is why many spiritually awakened people find themselves isolated or misunderstood. They carry an energy that society does not know how to categorize, and they often feel like strangers in a world organized around superficial roles and material ambitions. The aura is also deeply connected to symbolic perception. Jung believed that an awakened person sees reality symbolically, not just literally. For them, events are not only random occurrences but meaningful synchronicities. The psyche and the world mirror one another, and symbols become the language of that dialogue. Such a person does not just think differently, they live in a different dimension of meaning. This symbolic perception alters their behavior and expression, giving their aura a sense of depth. When they speak, they draw from archetypal wells. When they create, their art resonates beyond personal experience. When they love, it is infused with transpersonal significance. This dimension of depth is felt by others as magnetic, even if they cannot articulate why. In practical terms, the rare aura is not about mystical halos or supernatural lights, but about psychological presence. Imagine someone who has faced death, either literally or symbolically, and emerged with acceptance. They no longer cling desperately to control or to ego validation. In conversation, they listen deeply without judgment. Their words are few but precise. They carry themselves with dignity but without pretension. This is the embodiment of awakening. Their aura is rare because it reflects a level of wholeness that is seldom achieved. Jung insisted that individuation is a path open to all but walked by few because it demands relentless honesty and courage. Those who walk it inevitably radiate differently. Importantly, the aura of awakening is not static. It is dynamic, constantly evolving, as the individual deepens their relationship with the unconscious. Jung stressed that individuation is never complete. There is no final enlightenment in the Jungian model, only continual growth, continual dialogue between consciousness and the vast mystery of the psyche. Thus, the aura shifts with the person's stage of integration. In the early phases, it may be turbulent, as unconscious material floods consciousness. Later, it becomes more stable, balanced, and quietly powerful. This dynamic nature is part of what makes it rare. It cannot be pinned down, commodified, or replicated through external imitation. It belongs only to the one who has earned it through inner work. From a cultural standpoint, societies have always recognized the aura of awakened individuals. Ancient myths speak of heroes who return from the underworld with a new glow. Religious traditions describe saints whose presence transforms those around them. Indigenous cultures honor shamans who carry power after surviving initiatory ordeals. Jung's psychology provides a modern framework for understanding these archetypal patterns without reducing them to superstition. The aura is the psychological signature of transformation, the sign that someone has entered into a deeper participation with the collective unconscious. It is rare because authentic initiation is rare in modern society where comfort and distraction replace ordeal and introspection. Yet whenever it appears, it commands attention. Ultimately, what Jung teaches us is that the rare aura of spiritually awakened people is not a magical gift bestowed on a chosen few. It is the natural byproduct of a psyche that has dared to encounter its depths, integrate its fragments, and align with the self. Anyone who undertakes this journey can in principle radiate such an aura. But because so few choose the path of individuation, it remains rare. The rarity itself adds to its power, making those who embody it stand out in a world of masks. Their aura whispers of another possibility for human life, a life of wholeness, authenticity, and deep resonance with the archetypal foundations of existence. This is the essence of spiritual awakening, as Jung understood it, the alchemy of the soul that turns suffering into wisdom and fragmentation into radiance. Part 2. Aura and the process of individuation. Individuation in Jung's depth psychology is the central process by which a human being becomes whole. It is not about becoming perfect or transcending humanity. Rather, it is about integrating all aspects of the psyche, conscious and unconscious, into a dynamic balance. For Jung, individuation is the natural goal of life, the unfolding of the personality toward its fullest potential. When we speak of the rare aura of spiritually awakened people, we are in fact describing the outward manifestation of individuation. Their aura is not a mystical accident, but the direct result of their inner work of integration. The journey of individuation begins when the ego, the center of consciousness, encounters its limitations. Most people identify almost entirely with their ego and their persona, the mask they present to society. They believe they are the roles they play: parent, worker, citizen, friend. They avoid the parts of themselves that do not fit these roles, pushing them into the shadow. Individuation requires that the ego recognizes its partiality and begins to dialogue with the unconscious. This confrontation is uncomfortable. It means seeing one's flaws, contradictions, and repressed desires. It means admitting that the ego is not the master of the house, but only a guest in a vast psychic landscape. This confrontation is the beginning of awakening. As the process deepens, the individual encounters the shadow. The shadow is not just the bad parts of ourselves, it is everything we have rejected, denied, or disowned. It may contain instincts, creative impulses, sexual energy, anger, or vulnerability. To integrate the shadow is to reclaim this energy, to recognize it as part of the self. Jung emphasized that the shadow is 90% pure gold, meaning that within what we fear lies enormous vitality. When a person integrates the shadow, they stop projecting it onto others. They cease blaming, demonizing, or idolizing those around them. Instead, they recognize that what they see outside reflects something inside. This recognition produces humility, depth, and compassion. It also produces energy. The psychic energy once used to repress the shadow is now available for conscious life. This liberated energy radiates as aura. Others sense it as strength, authenticity, or magnetism. Beyond the shadow lies the encounter with archetypes such as the anima and animus, the inner images of the opposite gender. For men, the anima embodies the feminine qualities of receptivity, emotion, and intuition. For women, the animus embodies the masculine qualities of assertiveness, reason, and will. Most people repress these qualities because they conflict with social expectations, but individuation requires embracing them. A man who integrates his anima becomes more emotionally intelligent, more connected to creativity, more empathetic. A woman who integrates her animus becomes more decisive, more intellectually confident, more grounded in action. The result is an inner balance of masculine and feminine energies. Jung believed this integration is essential for wholeness. When it occurs, the aura of the individual shifts. They exude harmony, not imbalance. Their presence feels complete, neither overly harsh nor overly submissive. People around them feel the wholeness, even if they cannot name it. The individuation process also demands a reorientation towards symbols. Jung saw symbols as the language of the unconscious. Dreams, myths, and synchronicities are not random. They reveal the archetypal patterns shaping the psyche. The individuating person learns to read these symbols not literally but psychologically. A dream of death may symbolize transformation. A recurring number may indicate a pattern of wholeness. A synchronistic event may affirm the path. By living in dialogue with symbols, the person enters a mythic dimension of life. Their aura reflects this dimension. It is charged with symbolic resonance. Others feel that their words, gestures, or even silence carry meaning beyond the ordinary. This is why awakened individuals are often experienced as teachers or guides, not because they preach, but because their very being conveys symbolic depth. As individuation progresses, the ego increasingly aligns with the self. The self for Jung is the archetype of wholeness, the organizing principle of the psyche that includes both conscious and unconscious. The ego cannot control the self, but it can serve it. When this alignment occurs, the individual experiences a new center of gravity. They are no longer driven by egoistic ambition or fear, but by a deeper purpose. Their life becomes a vehicle for the expression of the self. This alignment transforms their aura. They radiate calm confidence, not arrogance. They embody a sense of destiny not because they impose their will, but because they flow with a larger pattern. Their presence is rare precisely because so few people live from this deeper center. The aura of individuation is not just a passive glow, it has a psychological effect on others. Jung noted that archetypal energy constellates in relationships. When someone lives close to the self, they constellate the self in others. People around them may feel inspired, awakened, or unsettled. The individuated person becomes a mirror in which others glimpse their own potential. This mirroring can be exhilarating or terrifying. Some are drawn to the light, feeling hope and healing. Others resist it, projecting hostility or envy. This dynamic explains why spiritually awakened individuals often provoke strong reactions. Their aura is not neutral, it calls others to face themselves. The process of individuation also entails suffering. Jung never romanticized it. To integrate shadow is to feel shame and guilt. To integrate anima divided by animus is to endure confusion. To align with the self is to sacrifice ego desires. Many resist the process because it feels like death. In fact, Jung often used death and rebirth symbolism to describe it. The ego must die to its illusion of total control for the self to emerge. Those who endure this symbolic death are reborn with a new orientation. Their aura carries the weight of this ordeal. People sense that they have suffered deeply and survived. This survival gives them authority not in the sense of power over others, but power within themselves. Their presence communicates resilience and wisdom. Consider the myth of the hero's journey, which parallels individuation. The hero descends into the underworld, faces monsters, and returns with treasure. The treasure is not gold, but wisdom, healing, or transformation. When the hero returns, their community senses their aura. They have changed. They have integrated what others fear. They radiate courage and depth. Jung saw this myth as a universal archetype of individuation. Those who undergo it in real life embody the archetypal energy of the hero. Their aura feels mythic, larger than personal. This is why cultures throughout history have revered sages, shamans, and healers. They embody the archetype of individuation, and their aura is proof. It is important to stress that individuation is not about withdrawal from the world. Jung criticized forms of spirituality that reject the body, relationships, or society. Individuation demands engagement with life. The individuated person loves, works, suffers, and creates like anyone else. But they do so from a deeper center. Their aura is not otherworldly in the sense of escape. It is otherworldly because it integrates this world with the unconscious depths. They embody a bridge between inner and outer spirit, and matter, conscious and unconscious. This integration is rare in a culture that splits everything into opposites. Their aura communicates unity in a world of division. The individuation process also reshapes morality. Conventional morality is based on external rules, but individuation produces inner authority. Jung emphasized that individuation does not make one lawless but aligns one with the deeper law of the psyche. This inner law may conflict with social norms, but it is rooted in authenticity. An individuated person does not lie to themselves, and therefore they have no need to lie to others. Their aura reflects this integrity. People sense that they are trustworthy even if they disagree with their choices. Integrity shines, and it is felt as a rare aura. Another feature of individuation is creativity. When the unconscious and conscious cooperate, creativity flows. Jung himself painted, wrote, and sculpted as part of his individuation. He encouraged patients to engage in active imagination, dialoguing with inner figures through art, writing, or drama. This creativity is not merely personal but archetypal. It taps into universal images that resonate with others. An individuated person often becomes an artist of life itself. Their aura reflects this creativity. They seem to live artfully, expressing beauty in their presence, gestures, and work. People are drawn to them because they embody the creative flow of life. Individuation also transforms relationships. Most relationships are based on projection. We project our shadow anima or animus onto others, and then we fall in love or into conflict with our projections. The individuated person, having integrated these aspects, relates more authentically. They see others as they are, not as projections. This clarity makes their relationships deeper and less entangled. Their aura in relationships feels liberating. Others feel seen, not manipulated. They feel safe to be themselves. This is another reason why the aura of awakened individuals is rare and attractive. It offers the gift of genuine presence in a world of projections. The individuation process also leads to a sense of universality. Jung noted that individuation connects the personal with the collective unconscious. The individuated person feels linked to humanity as a whole, to nature, to the cosmos. Their aura reflects this universality. People feel that they embody something larger than themselves. They may not speak of it, but their presence carries a transpersonal dimension. This is why others describe them as luminous, magnetic, or sacred. Their aura is the glow of universality shining through individuality. In the end, the aura of individuation is the visible sign of inner wholeness. It is rare because wholeness is rare. Most people remain fragmented, clinging to masks, repressing shadows, and living from ego. Those who dare to face themselves, integrate their opposites, and align with the self, radiate a presence that is unmistakable. Their aura is not something they create or control. It is the natural radiation of wholeness. It is the psychological equivalent of light, an emanation that reveals, inspires, and sometimes unsettles. This is why Jung placed individuation at the center of his psychology. It is not only the path to personal healing, but to a rare aura that transforms the world around it. Part 3. The Jungian elements that shape the rare aura. The rare aura of spiritually awakened individuals is not an accident of personality, but the result of deep psychological work. Jung's framework allows us to identify the specific elements of the psyche that, when integrated, create this unique radiance. These elements are not abstract theories, they are forces within every human being. Most people suppress them, distort them, or remain unconscious of them. But when they are confronted, integrated, and harmonized, they transform a person's energy. What others perceive as aura is in fact the external expression of an internal alignment. One of the most essential elements is the shadow. The shadow, as Jung described, is everything we reject, deny, or disown in ourselves. It is composed of instincts, desires, emotions, and impulses that the ego deems unacceptable. Society reinforces this repression by rewarding conformity and punishing deviance. As a result, people bury vast parts of themselves in the unconscious. These disowned aspects do not disappear, they fester. They erupt in projection where we see in others what we cannot face in ourselves. They appear in compulsions, addictions, or irrational outbursts. They haunt us as nightmares or anxieties. The shadow is heavy, dark, and frightening, but it is also full of life. Jung called it 90% pure gold because within it lies the energy we need to become whole. When a person confronts their shadow through therapy, dreams, active imagination, or raw self-honesty, they begin to reclaim their power. They recognize that their anger can be transformed into courage, their fear into caution, their envy into aspiration. They stop projecting darkness onto others, and they own it within themselves. This reclamation changes their aura. They no longer radiate denial or hypocrisy, but authenticity. People feel their groundedness. They can trust them because they are not hiding behind masks. They can feel safe around them because such a person is not secretly at war with themselves. The aura of someone who has integrated their shadow is solid, magnetic, and undeniably rare. Another critical element is the anima and animus. These are the inner images of the opposite gender that dwell in the unconscious. For men, the anima is the feminine soul image, emotional, intuitive, receptive. For women, the animus is the masculine soul image, assertive, logical, directive. Because culture demands rigid gender roles, most people repress these qualities. Men deny vulnerability and emotion. Women suppress assertiveness and intellect. The result is imbalance and one-sidedness. Jung taught that individuation requires integrating these contrasexual qualities. When a man integrates his anima, he becomes capable of true intimacy. He can listen deeply, empathize, and feel without fear. He connects with creativity and dreams, accessing dimensions of the psyche that rigid masculinity cannot reach. His aura becomes softer yet more profound. People feel his emotional availability and spiritual depth. When a woman integrates her animus, she becomes decisive, intellectually confident, and resilient. She speaks with authority not because she imitates men, but because she owns her inner masculine. Her aura becomes radiant with clarity and strength. In both cases, integration produces balance. Others sense wholeness rather than incompleteness. The aura of someone who has harmonized anima and animus is compelling because it reflects the integration of polarities. A third element is the archetypal dimension. Archetypes are the universal patterns of the collective unconscious. They appear in myths, dreams, and cultural symbols. They shape human experience at a deep level. Most people remain unconscious of these archetypes, acting them out blindly in personal life. For example, someone may be possessed by the archetype of the hero, constantly striving for conquest, or the archetype of the victim, perpetually seeking rescue. Jung argued that individuation requires becoming conscious of these archetypal forces, recognizing them, and integrating their power. When an individual becomes aware of archetypes, their aura changes. They no longer seem limited to personal concerns. They embody something larger. People sense mythic energy around them. They may remind others of a wise elder, a healer, or a warrior, not because they play these roles deliberately, but because they have aligned with archetypal patterns consciously. Their words resonate beyond personal opinion. They carry symbolic weight. Their presence evokes ancient images in the collective unconscious of others. This archetypal resonance is a key part of the rare aura. It makes the awakened person feel timeless, as if they belong both to the present and to eternity. Another element is symbolic perception. For Jung, awakening involves learning to read life symbolically. The unconscious speaks in symbols in dreams, synchronicities, and fantasies. Most people dismiss these as meaningless, but the individuated person listens. They recognize that a dream of water may represent the unconscious, that a recurring animal may signify an instinct, that a chance meeting may symbolize a turning point. By living symbolically, their entire worldview shifts. They no longer see life as random events, but as a meaningful unfolding. This orientation infuses their aura with depth. Others sense that they live in another dimension where everything carries significance. This symbolic awareness gives them an aura of wisdom, mystery, and profound presence. A crucial factor in shaping the aura is integration of opposites. Jung taught that the psyche is composed of polarities, light and dark, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, personal and collective. Most people identify with one pole and reject the other. They cling to good and deny evil, embrace reason and reject emotion, or claim spirituality while denying the body. But individuation requires uniting these opposites, not by erasing them, but by holding the tension between them. Jung called this the transcendent function, where a new level of consciousness emerges that includes both poles. When a person integrates opposites, their aura reflects paradox. They are strong yet gentle, wise yet humble, intense yet calm. They embody contradictions without conflict. Others sense this paradox as wholeness. It is magnetic because it is rare. Most people are trapped in one-sidedness. They radiate imbalance. The individuated person radiates completeness. Their aura whispers to others, "You too can hold your opposites. You too can become whole." Finally, the rare aura is shaped by alignment with the self. The self in Jung's psychology is the central archetype of wholeness, the organizing principle of the psyche. It transcends the ego and connects the individual to the collective unconscious. When the ego aligns with the self, life is guided not by superficial desires but by a deeper purpose. The individuated person lives in service to the self. Their choices, relationships, and creativity flow from this alignment. The aura of someone aligned with the self is unmistakable. They radiate serenity, purpose, and authenticity. People feel that they are in touch with something beyond personal ambition. Their presence inspires trust and reverence. They seem to carry light within them, not because they try, but because they have surrendered to the deeper self. This alignment is rare because it requires ego death, the surrender of control, and the acceptance of mystery. But when it happens, the aura shines as a beacon. The Jungian elements, shadow anima divided by animus archetypes, symbolic perception, integration of opposites, and alignment with the self, together shape the rare aura of spiritually awakened individuals. Each element contributes energy, depth, and balance. The shadow gives authenticity, the anima and animus give wholeness, archetypes give resonance, symbolic perception gives meaning, integration of opposites gives paradoxical harmony, alignment with the self gives serenity and purpose. When all these are woven together, the result is a human being who radiates presence. Their aura is the visible sign of invisible integration. It is the fruit of individuation, the gift of awakening, and the reason why Jung's psychology remains vital today. Part 4. The signs of a spiritually awakened aura. The aura of spiritually awakened individuals is not an abstract idea but a lived reality that can be sensed by others in concrete ways. While Jung himself did not use the word aura in a mystical sense, His psychology explains why certain people seem to radiate energy, presence, and depth. The rare aura is experienced through behaviors, emotional impact, and subtle energetic qualities that others feel instinctively. To understand it in Jungian terms, we must explore the signs that mark someone whose psyche has undergone profound integration. These signs are not superficial traits that can be faked. They are the natural expressions of inner transformation. One of the most immediate signs is the atmosphere of calm surrounding them. Spiritually awakened people often emit a stillness that quiets those around them. This calm does not mean they are passive or detached, but that they have confronted their inner turmoil and integrated it. Their nervous system is not constantly on alert, and their ego is not desperately seeking validation. Others pick up on this inner composure, often without words. A room feels different when they enter. Conversations slow down and anxieties seem to soften. This calm presence is a product of shadow integration. Once inner conflicts are faced, they no longer unconsciously leak into the environment. The aura feels like a settled field of energy, and people find themselves breathing more easily around them. A second sign is their penetrating gaze. Jung wrote extensively about the eyes as windows into the soul, and those who have undergone individuation often carry eyes that seem to see through surfaces. Their gaze is not invasive but deeply attentive. It communicates presence and authenticity. People often feel seen in their presence, not judged but recognized at a level beyond words. This capacity arises from symbolic perception and projection withdrawal. Since the awakened person no longer projects large parts of their unconscious onto others, they can perceive others more clearly. Their aura of attentiveness feels magnetic. People crave their presence because being seen without distortion is rare. A third sign is the impact of their silence. For most, silence is uncomfortable. It feels empty or threatening. But the silence of an awakened person feels charged, meaningful. They do not rush to fill the void with chatter because they are not afraid of emptiness. Their inner dialogue with the unconscious has taught them to value stillness. Jung understood that silence allows archetypal images to emerge. In the presence of someone who is comfortable with silence, others feel invited to slow down, reflect, and connect with their own inner depths. Their aura turns silence into a shared sanctuary. Another sign is their ability to evoke strong reactions in others. Jung noted that individuals who embody archetypal energy act as magnets for projection. Spiritually awakened people often find that others either admire them intensely or feel threatened by them. Their aura reflects integration, which unconsciously exposes the fragmentation of others. Someone deeply repressed may feel uncomfortable sensing their own shadow mirrored back. Someone longing for authenticity may feel inspired sensing the possibility of wholeness. This polarity of reactions is a hallmark of archetypal resonance. Their aura does not leave people indifferent. It stirs unconscious material in those around them. A fifth sign is their heightened intuition and synchronicity awareness. Jung coined the term synchronicity to describe meaningful coincidences that reflect the causal connection between psyche and world. Spiritually awakened individuals often live in tune with such synchronicities. They notice patterns, symbols, and subtle cues that others dismiss. Their intuition is not mere guesswork, it is the fruit of alignment with the unconscious. They trust dreams, archetypal imagery, and inner promptings. Others experience this as uncanny accuracy or insight. Their aura feels like a bridge between visible reality and invisible meaning. Being around them makes life feel more symbolic and connected. Another sign is their capacity to heal without effort. This does not mean they are professional healers, but their presence itself can be healing. People feel lighter, clearer, or more grounded after spending time with them. Jung would attribute this to the integration of shadow and the alignment with the self. The individuated person radiates wholeness, and wholeness is inherently healing. Their aura acts as a field that invites others into greater integration. This healing effect is not something they try to produce, it is the natural consequence of their inner state. A seventh sign is their paradoxical blend of humility and authority. Most people oscillate between insecurity and arrogance, but spiritually awakened individuals embody both humility and strength simultaneously. They do not need to prove themselves, yet they exude authority. They acknowledge their limitations, yet they speak with clarity. This paradox arises from individuation. The ego recognizes its smallness in relation to the self, but it also serves the self with confidence. Their aura reflects this paradox. People feel safe in their humility and inspired by their authority. Another sign is their authenticity in relationships. Because they have integrated projections, they relate to others as they are, not as extensions of their own unconscious. They do not idolize or demonize. They listen deeply and respond genuinely. This authenticity feels rare in a world dominated by masks and personas. Their aura in relationships is liberating. Others feel less pressure to perform or pretend. They feel accepted as they are, which encourages honesty and intimacy. A ninth sign is their creativity that transcends personal expression. Jung emphasized that individuation unleashes creative energy. Spiritually awakened people often engage in art writing, teaching, or simple acts of beauty in daily life. Their creativity is infused with archetypal resonance, which gives it universal appeal. Even if they are not professional artists, the way they live becomes artful. Their aura carries this creative vitality. Others feel inspired to create, to imagine, to express. Creativity becomes contagious in their presence. Finally, the rare aura is marked by serenity in the face of suffering. Jung believed individuation requires suffering. The awakened person has endured inner chaos, loss, and symbolic death. Having survived, they no longer fear suffering in the same way. They accept it as part of life's rhythm. This acceptance radiates serenity. Others sense that they are not easily shaken by adversity. Their aura communicates resilience and hope. People feel reassured in their presence, as if life's storms can be faced with dignity. These signs together create a portrait of the rare aura. Calm atmosphere, penetrating gaze, charged silence, strong reactions, synchronicity awareness, healing presence, paradoxical humility and authority, authentic relationships, creative vitality and serenity in suffering. Each is a manifestation of psychological integration. They are the signs that someone has undergone individuation and aligned with the self. In Jungian terms, the aura is the living proof of wholeness. It cannot be faked, bought, or performed. It emerges only from the deep work of confronting the unconscious, integrating opposites, and surrendering to the self. That is why it is rare, and why those who embody it are unforgettable. Part 5. The challenges of carrying a rare aura. To possess the rare aura of a spiritually awakened person is both a gift and a burden. Jung's depth psychology makes it clear that individuation and alignment with the self do not lead to a life free of problems. On the contrary, they expose one to unique challenges. The aura itself, this radiance of wholeness and authenticity, creates friction with a world still dominated by masks, projections, and ego-driven dynamics. Understanding these challenges helps us appreciate why awakening is rare and why those who embody it often walk a lonely path. One of the primary challenges is isolation. Jung frequently observed that individuals who move further into individuation often feel estranged from the collective. The collective thrives on conformity. It demands that people wear the persona, follow norms, and suppress the shadow. When someone radiates an aura of authenticity, they disrupt this order. Their very presence becomes a silent critique of superficiality. Others may admire them, but they may also feel threatened or alienated. As a result, the awakened person often feels they do not fully belong anywhere. Their aura sets them apart, and the price of this uniqueness is solitude. This isolation is compounded by the projections they attract. Jung explained that projections are unconscious contents cast onto others. An awakened person, by embodying archetypal energy, becomes a magnet for these projections. People may project the wise sage, the healer, the hero, or even the savior onto them. While flattering, these projections are burdensome. They distort relationships, making it hard for the awakened person to be seen as simply human. At the same time, negative projections can cast them as dangerous, arrogant, or threatening. Carrying such projections is exhausting. The aura, instead of being a blessing, becomes a lightning rod for the unconscious of others. Another challenge is misunderstanding. Because spiritually awakened individuals live symbolically, speak from archetypal depth, and embody paradox, they are often misunderstood by those who think in literal black and white terms. Their aura carries mystery, and mystery provokes suspicion. People accustomed to superficial explanations may interpret their depth as vagueness or deception. Jung himself faced ridicule when he described synchronicity or active imagination. He knew that those who speak from the unconscious are often dismissed as irrational. For awakened individuals, this misunderstanding can be painful. They must learn to live with the reality that few will truly comprehend their experience. A fourth challenge is the temptation of spiritual inflation. Jung warned that contact with the archetypal dimension can inflate the ego. When a person experiences powerful symbols, visions, or synchronicities, they may believe themselves chosen, superior, or divine. This inflation distorts the aura. What was once rare, authenticity, becomes contaminated with arrogance. Others may sense the false note and withdraw. Avoiding inflation requires humility, the recognition that the self, not the ego, is the source of transformation. For spiritually awakened individuals, the challenge is to carry their aura lightly as a servant of the self, not as a badge of superiority. Another burden is the responsibility of influence. The aura of awakened individuals naturally impacts others. People may come to them for guidance, healing, or inspiration. While they may not seek this role, it is thrust upon them. Jung described this dynamic in the relationship between analyst and patient. The analyst inevitably becomes an archetypal figure in the patient's psyche. Similarly, awakened people in daily life become unconscious symbols for those around them. They must carry this influence with care. A careless word or action can wound deeply. The challenge is to live authentically while recognizing the responsibility their aura places on them. The awakened also struggle with heightened sensitivity. By integrating shadow and anima divided by animus, they open themselves to deeper layers of the psyche. This openness increases empathy and intuition, but it also makes them vulnerable. They sense the pain, projections, and unconscious struggles of others more acutely. Their aura attracts people, but it also absorbs energy. Without boundaries, they risk exhaustion. Jung would advise grounding in the body, engaging in creative expression, and cultivating solitude as ways to balance this sensitivity. The aura, while powerful, must be protected. Another challenge is conflict with societal values. Modern society often rewards ambition, material success, and external validation. Spiritually awakened individuals aligned with the self live by different values: authenticity, meaning, and wholeness. Their aura reflects these values, which can clash with social systems. They may find it hard to work in environments driven by competition or superficiality. Their refusal to compromise integrity may be seen as impractical or rebellious. Jung believed that individuation sometimes demands a path against the current. The aura, while luminous, often leads to friction with the mainstream. The aura also provokes envy and hostility. People who sense authenticity may admire it, but they may also resent it. Seeing someone embody wholeness can highlight one's own fragmentation. Instead of confronting their shadow, some may attack the awakened person. This hostility may manifest as gossip, rejection, or even persecution. History is filled with examples. Prophets, mystics, and visionaries who carried rare auras were often marginalized or punished. Jung understood this archetypal pattern. Society resists those who embody the self because they challenge collective illusions. A subtler challenge is the burden of continual growth. Individuation never ends. Awakening is not a final state, but an ongoing dialogue with the unconscious. The aura, while rare, must be continually renewed through inner work. If one stops listening to dreams, represses the shadow again, or succumbs to ego inflation, the aura dims. Spiritually awakened individuals cannot rest on past achievements. Their aura demands ongoing humility, honesty, and surrender. This is exhausting, but it is also the essence of authenticity. Finally, the rare aura brings the challenge of carrying paradox. Awakened individuals embody opposites: humility and authority, strength and vulnerability, suffering and serenity. Living this paradox is difficult. The world prefers simple categories, good or bad, strong or weak. The aura of paradox confuses people, and it can confuse the individual themselves. They must learn to hold tensions without collapsing into one-sidedness. Jung called this the transcendent function, the ability to tolerate conflict until a new synthesis emerges. The aura is rare precisely because few can bear this tension. The challenges of carrying a rare aura: loneliness, projections, misunderstanding, inflation, responsibility, sensitivity, conflict with society, envy, the demand for growth, and the burden of paradox explain why awakening is uncommon. The aura is not simply a reward for inner work, it is also a cross to bear. Jung's psychology reminds us that individuation is not about escaping difficulty, but about embracing it consciously. Those who carry this aura embody both the beauty and the pain of wholeness. Their presence is radiant, but the light they shine is forged in the fire of struggle. Part 6. The deeper meaning and purpose of a rare aura. The rare aura of spiritually awakened people is not merely a personal phenomenon, but carries profound meaning for humanity as a whole. In Jung's framework, individuation is not only about personal wholeness, it is also about serving the collective unconscious. The awakened individual becomes a vessel through which the self radiates into the world. Their aura is not a private treasure, but a beacon for others, a reminder that deeper transformation is possible. To understand this deeper meaning, we must examine the purpose of the aura within both the psyche and the collective. The first layer of meaning is psychological wholeness. Jung emphasized that the psyche seeks balance and integration. The aura is the external manifestation of this inner wholeness. It is a sign that the conscious and unconscious have entered into dialogue, that the shadow has been integrated, that anima and animus have been harmonized, and that the ego has aligned with the self. In a world where most people remain fragmented, this wholeness is striking. The aura announces that human beings are not condemned to live in conflict with themselves. It demonstrates that integration is possible, that one can live with authenticity and peace. This meaning is deeply encouraging. The aura tells others, often without words, you too can become whole. The second layer of meaning is transpersonal resonance. Jung taught that the self is not purely individual, it connects us to the collective unconscious. When someone radiates an awakened aura, they resonate with archetypal energies that belong to humanity at large. Their presence awakens dormant potentials in others. For example, the archetype of the wise old man or woman may be constellated in them, inspiring others to seek wisdom. Or the archetype of the healer may shine through, encouraging others to embrace healing. Their aura does not just reflect personal development, it carries archetypal force. This is why people often describe them as luminous, magnetic, or sacred. Their presence transcends individuality, pointing to something larger. Another purpose of the aura is cultural renewal. Jung argued that cultures, like individuals, fall into imbalance when they repress parts of the psyche. Modern Western culture, for example, overemphasizes rationality and materialism while repressing spirituality and symbolism. Spiritually awakened individuals embody the missing balance. Their aura challenges cultural one-sidedness. They remind others of forgotten truths, that life is meaningful, that dreams matter, that the unconscious shapes destiny, that the spiritual dimension is real. Their aura serves as a counterpoint to the collective's blind spots. This is not comfortable for society, but it is necessary for renewal. Awakened individuals often become cultural critics, prophets, or artists, precisely because their aura embodies what the collective represses. The aura also serves a relational function. In relationships, spiritually awakened individuals often act as mirrors. Because they have integrated projections, they reflect others back to themselves. Their aura exposes shadow, awakens longing, or stirs archetypal memories. This can be painful. Some may resist, lash out, or withdraw, but it can also be healing. Many people begin their own journey of individuation after encountering someone whose aura revealed something within themselves. In this way, the aura functions as a catalyst. It invites others into transformation not by persuasion but by resonance. The deeper meaning of the aura also involves connection with the numinous. Jung used the term numinous to describe the experience of the sacred, the overwhelming sense of presence that transcends ordinary reality. The aura of an awakened person often carries this numinous quality. Others may feel awe in their presence as if they are encountering something divine. This does not mean the awakened person is a god, but that they are transparent to the archetype of the self, which is the image of God within the psyche. Their aura therefore connects others to the sacred dimension of life. In a disenchanted world where the sacred is often dismissed, this reconnection is vital. Another purpose of the aura is guidance through example. Spiritually awakened individuals rarely need to preach. Their aura itself teaches. The way they handle suffering, the way they embody paradox, the way they live authentically, all of these are lessons. Jung emphasized that individuation is not about ideals, but about lived reality. The aura reflects lived integration. People who observe it learn not from abstract theories, but from embodied presence. This kind of teaching is subtle but powerful. It shows that transformation is not just an idea, but a way of being. The aura also represents hope for collective evolution. Jung was concerned that humanity's technological progress was not matched by psychological maturity. He feared that collective shadow, if left unintegrated, would lead to destruction. The aura of spiritually awakened individuals offers a counterpoint. It shows that integration is possible, that human beings can evolve inwardly as well as outwardly. Their aura is a seed of collective transformation. Each awakened individual contributes to the psychic balance of the whole. Jung even suggested that the fate of humanity may depend on the individuation of enough individuals. In this sense, the rare aura is not just personal, it is essential for the survival of civilization. A deeper layer of meaning is found in service to the self. Jung insisted that individuation is not about serving the ego, but about serving the self. The self has a purpose that transcends personal desires. The awakened aura reflects this service. It is the glow of someone who has surrendered to a higher order, who lives in alignment with a destiny beyond themselves. This surrender gives them serenity, purpose, and resilience. Their aura communicates to others that life has meaning, that suffering has purpose, that each individual is called to a unique path. At the same time, the aura carries a warning. It reveals what is possible, but it also confronts others with their resistance. Some respond with admiration, others with hostility. Jung understood this as an archetypal reaction. Light constellates darkness. The aura of wholeness exposes the fragmentation of others. This confrontation is uncomfortable, but it is also necessary. Without challenge, growth does not occur. The aura therefore serves not only to inspire, but also to disturb. Its deeper purpose is to shake people out of complacency, to awaken them to their own inner work. Ultimately, the rare aura of spiritually awakened individuals signifies the presence of the self in the world. Jung saw the self as both psychological and spiritual, both inner and transcendent. When someone radiates this aura, they are embodying the self, making it visible. This embodiment is not perfect or final, but it is real. It shows that the unconscious and the conscious can be reconciled, that the human being can become a vessel of the archetypal, that life itself can be lived symbolically. The aura is therefore not just personal energy, it is a sign of the mystery at the heart of existence shining through an individual life. The purpose of the rare aura, then, is manifold: to demonstrate psychological wholeness, to resonate with archetypes, to renew culture, to catalyze transformation in relationships, to reconnect others with the sacred, to guide through example, to contribute to collective evolution, to serve the self, to warn and disturb, and to embody the mystery of the self. This is why it is rare and why it matters. Jung's depth psychology helps us see that the aura is not mystical fluff, but the natural radiation of individuation. It is the light that appears when a human being becomes whole. If you feel the stirrings of this rare aura within yourself, it means your soul is calling you toward individuation. Jung's message is clear: the world doesn't need more masks, it needs more awakened beings. So ask yourself, are you ready to walk into the fire of your unconscious and emerge with the light that cannot be faked? Because once you do, your very presence becomes a revolution.